Still ahead on the news at 10, Nigeria stays 5th in the latest FIFA ranking. That's on Sports News. Please stay with us. Let's take a look at some sports news now. Here's Charles Zaruka. Charles?
Thanks, Ijoma. We ain't going forward, we're not going backwards. Nigeria's Super Eagles retained their positions in the latest rankings released by the World Football Governing Body FIFA. The African champions are still 5th on the continent and 35th in the world, neither losing nor gaining any points. Côte d'Ivoire is still Africa's #1, a position the Elephants have held for nearly 2 years. Ghana's Black Stars are 2nd in Africa and 24th in the world. Mali are 3rd, closely followed by Algeria, who are in 4th spot. Cape Verde, Burkina Faso, Cameroon, Tunisia and Zambia complete the top 10 best-playing countries in Africa. Meanwhile, world and European champions Spain continue to dominate the global scene. The Spaniards have now held onto the #1 spot since 2008. After their European Championship triumph, the top 10 remained unchanged as Germany, Colombia, Argentina, the Netherlands, Italy, Portugal, Croatia, Brazil and Belgium sustained their positions on the global ladder. And the International Association of Athletics Federations, IAAF, has announced that athletes found guilty of doping will be given a 4-year ban. From 2015, the length of bans was cut from 4 to 2 years in 1997 to bring it in line with other international sports bodies. After a number of high-profile cases, the IAAF has opted to revert to 4. Athletics has had to deal with a series of doping revelations recently, with news that 2 of the fastest 400 meters men of all time, Tyson Gay and Asafa Powell, had failed drug tests on the same day last month.
The forefront of leading the anti-doping campaign, trying to improve the testing, trying to improve the scope of the testing and not shying away from releasing positives as they come up. There's never any question of things being swept under the carpet or hidden or of anybody being protected in athletics. That said, there is still more to be done, and I think that the budget allocated to anti-doping probably does not fully reflect the problem. It's a lot better than it was 10 years ago, but there still is more to be done, and I think that athletics needs to continue leading the fight there and show that our sport is a beautiful sport and it needs to be protected.
We must be very clear there. What the legislation you're talking about is about in this country, the ability to promote the sexual preference amongst young people. So I'd like that we use the right terms there. What we have stated, and we stand strong there, is that the ability to participate in the World Championships has to be untouched, and it is something which is not compromised with. And such is the case here in Moscow.
Staying with athletics, former 200 meters world champion Frankie Frederick says sprint king Usain Bolt has not yet reached his peak and can lower his world records in the 100 and 200 meters. The peerless Jamaican set his world marks of 9.58 seconds and 19.19 seconds at the Berlin World Championships in 2009, with his best since then, the 9.63 and 19.32 he clocked in London's Olympic Stadium at last year's Games. Fredericks believes even with Johan Blake's season hit by injury, Bolt still has a serious rival to push him to greater feats, with his chief threat to double sprint gold in Moscow coming from former Olympic champion Justin Gatlin. And the International Cricket Council has denied that it's investigating players in the Ashes series over alleged attempts by some batsmen to use silicone tape on the edge of their bats to confuse hotspot technology. An Australia TV channel reported on Wednesday that the ICC was investigating the use of silicone amid increasing controversy during the 5-test series between England and Australia over the inconsistency of the decision review system. Australian and England players preparing for Friday's 4th test in Chester-le-Street also refuted the allegations. And that's it on sports news. Ijoma will be back shortly with the rest of the news at
10. Beer with many imitators, but certainly no equal. Enjoy the power of more. Drink responsibly.
Over now to the foreign scene, where a funeral holding at a mosque in Pakistan today turned deadly when a suicide bomber struck the procession. Our correspondent Temi Tokwe Fagwimi tells us more.
It's double tragedy in Pakistan, where a suicide bomber has struck at a funeral for a policeman, killing at least 28 people, including a senior police officer. Police say that the blast in Quetta, which no group has claimed responsibility for, also wounded at least 60 people. Meanwhile, 6 alleged al-Qaeda militants have been killed in the latest presumed U.S. drone strike in Yemen. The attack in Marib province was the 6th in the last 2 weeks. In Europe, as Spain continues to try to come to terms with the fatal train crash that killed 79 people last month, the head of the country's public railways says the crew of the train, which derailed at high speed, had not reported any problems before the crash. Staying on in Europe, Pope Francis has stepped